Welcome to this overview and training on the Observation and Conference Report, or OCR. Thank you for the time, dedication, and guidance you are providing to our teacher candidates and clinical interns to help them prepare for their future careers. A few notes before we get started. You can pause this presentation at any time. Please do so if you need a break, want to take notes, or want to review information. This presentation will last approximately 25 minutes. You may want to print out a copy of the OCR instrument and have it in front of you for the presentation. This will help you review and read the standards as written in the OCR, as well as provide you a place to take any notes. Following this video, you will be asked to complete a short assessment. Let's take a minute to look at what we will discuss today. We will explain the OCR and the key factors relevant to implementation for both clinical supervisors and cooperating teachers. Review the 4-point evaluation scale, review the standards included in the OCR, and provide contact information and next steps. We'll start with the evaluation scale and ratings. The OCR uses a 4-point scale consisting of advanced proficient, proficient, novice, and pre-emergent, as well as not observed, which offers cooperating teachers and clinical supervisors an opportunity to show where a student falls on a continuum of growth toward mastery. We are looking for growth and development of teacher candidates throughout the course of the semester. Teacher candidates enrolled in early methods courses may be at the pre-emergent or novice level in early field experiences. Over the course of their program, Clinical Practice 1 candidates should demonstrate movement toward proficiency, although they are not expected to be at proficient or advanced proficient in all standards. Again, the objective is growth over time across all standards. In addition, we do not expect our clinical interns to have consistently high ratings of advanced proficient by the midpoint, though some may achieve that by the semester's end. As a reminder, the OCR is used for all observations conducted by both the cooperating teacher and the clinical supervisor for teacher candidates enrolled in Clinical Practice 1 for the first, second, and third, fifth, sixth, and seventh observations conducted by the clinical supervisor for interns completing their clinical internship, and for all observations of teacher candidates enrolled in early methods courses. Clinical interns and teacher candidates may be rated advanced proficient, the highest rating in any given standard. This indicates there is a consistent demonstration and mastery of all the skills and behaviors listed in a standard. Difference between advanced proficient and proficient is in the level of mastery. This rating is the second highest rating for a given standard. Proficient candidates are observed showing most of the skills and behaviors of a standard, though they may not have displayed or mastered all of the skills. Each standard has its own specific description for what a proficient rating entails. Many teacher candidates will begin their early field experiences at the level of novice. A novice often demonstrates some of the skills and behaviors listed under a standard, but still needs mentoring and assistance to reach levels of proficiency. As before, please note that each standard has its own specific description of the novice rating. Over the course of the program, we look to see that clinical interns and teacher candidates are moving toward proficiency and advanced proficiency. At the midpoint of Clinical Practice 1, some teacher candidates may still be novices in one or more category. It is a good idea to focus on these areas in your debriefing with the candidate, since these areas should rise to proficient levels by the semester's end. When completing the evaluation, use the comments section box to elaborate on the candidate's performance. A rating of emergent suggests that the clinical intern or teacher candidate is exhibiting few of the skills and behaviors listed for that standard and is having a difficult time meeting the standard. Some teacher candidates may begin in the emergent category in their early methods field experiences. In later field experiences, candidates should be moving into novice and proficient categories. A rating of emergent should be viewed as designating an area in serious need of improvement for a clinical intern. As mentioned before, an emergent rating is specified for each standard. If, by a clinical intern's second observation, a rating of emergent is given in several standards on the OCR, the Director of Internships and Assessment should be contacted immediately. The cooperating teacher and supervisor will work with the director to initiate a plan for remediation so that the clinical intern has an opportunity to show growth and improvement before the end of the semester. For clinical interns, any standard rated as emergent should be the focus of serious reflection and self-improvement. Clinical supervisors should draw attention to these areas in their discussions with the clinical intern. Though the OCR does allow you to select not observed for a standard that was not observed, we ask that you use this notation sparingly. Use the comment section to explain any use of not observed in your OCR evaluation. For example, a clinical intern might not have used technology in the lesson observed, but may be able to incorporate technology into future observed lessons. Ask the clinical intern to work to develop that standard. You can also ask the clinical intern to provide evidence that the standard can be met even if it is not directly observed in the lesson. Following any observation, the clinical intern should be told to work to demonstrate proficiency in any standards that appear as not observed. Next, we will discuss the standards. As a review, the OCR has 11 standards as aligned to NTASC standards and the New Jersey Professional Standards for Teachers. There is one indicator for each standard on the OCR leading to 11 observation areas on the instrument. This slide identifies the domains for assessment: the learner and learning content knowledge, instructional practice, and professional responsibility. There are standards aligned to each of the domains. The OCR follows the New Jersey Professional Standards for Teachers and has 11 standards. As seasoned educators and education professionals, these domains and standards are likely very familiar to you. The next several slides will take a closer look at each of the 11 standards and review the specific areas of development and focus for a teacher candidate within that standard. We will begin with Standard 1, Learner Development. Standard 1 on learner development addresses awareness of child and adolescent development. Teacher candidates and clinical interns use this understanding when designing and teaching lessons. Those lessons should be developmentally appropriate for the students in the classroom. Furthermore, the candidates' interactions should show sensitivity to learning differences, including those influenced by culture, learning style, language, and academic differences. Standard 2 builds on the foundation of Standard 1, but specifically addresses the grasp of individual differences and the role diversity plays in teaching and learning. Included in this standard is the importance of developing inclusive classrooms in which all students have access to success. Candidates who score well on this standard incorporate the cultures and perspectives of students in their lessons. They adapt their instruction to individual differences in needs, language, learning styles, and multiple intelligences. You should use the comments section for this standard to explain the composition of the classroom, especially if not observed is marked. In a clinical internship, if a teacher candidate does not have any ELL students, he or she may need to find alternative ways to meet the standard. Some ways for them to do this is to provide evidence from prior clinical placements, do research on how they would integrate teaching to the ELs for a specific lesson, or reach out to another classroom or teacher in the building with ELL students to learn how to adapt a lesson for an ELL. Under Standard 3, teacher candidates and clinical interns collaborate with the cooperating teacher and with learners to create a positive classroom environment. The candidate creates a physically and psychologically safe classroom environment, responds to students respectfully using warm verbal and nonverbal language towards students, and uses effective classroom management techniques which encourage and support positive social interaction and active engagement in learning. Standard 4 addresses the candidate's content knowledge. To demonstrate competency in this standard, a teacher candidate would have lessons that are well designed, and mastery of content knowledge is demonstrated by the incorporation of appropriate New Jersey standards in this lesson. Candidates may do this by designing lessons which foster student critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Under Standard 5, teacher candidates and clinical interns are asked to show how they use content to create opportunities for authentic interdisciplinary learning. Candidates understand how to connect concepts and use different perspectives to engage learners in critical thinking. Learning also engages students in addressing local, national, or global issues. Candidates demonstrate implementation of interdisciplinary learning experiences and integration of knowledge in several content areas. For example, candidates can design lessons using content knowledge to allow students to think deeply about real-world problems and collaborate with each other to develop solutions. An effort to integrate knowledge across content areas is critical to demonstrating advanced proficiency in this standard. Assessment is the focus of Standard 6. This standard demonstrates the candidate's knowledge of P12 learning. Teacher candidates and clinical interns must develop and use multiple methods of assessment in their lessons to monitor learner progress, and can use them at different time points, such as formative and summative assessments. They are expected to use the results of those assessments to modify or adjust how they teach or guide their decisions about students. Assessments should allow an opportunity to differentiate instruction while providing students with meaningful specific feedback. Assessments should be developmentally appropriate and tied to instruction. Assessments will create an opportunity for students to demonstrate their learning in diverse ways. Standard 7 reflects the reality that planning instruction is a complex skill. Candidates must be able to plan instruction to support every student to meet rigorous learning goals based on needs. Candidates use a rich variety of materials and resources, including technology, to support goals and objectives. Candidates can break down content knowledge into appropriate sequenced learning events that meet the needs of all learners in the classroom. This implies a grasp of how to use the classroom and community resources, as well as an understanding of the school culture. Technology and other instructional resources should be used to support and promote learning. The teacher candidate should work closely with the cooperating teacher, other colleagues in the building, other co-teachers in the room, and/or community organizations. Standard 8 expands on the foundation of earlier standards, emphasizing the need to understand and use a variety of instructional strategies, including technology, to develop content knowledge and skills for all learners. Candidates can incorporate this standard into their lesson by using questioning strategies that promote higher order thinking. In addition, the candidate uses a range of instructional strategies that vary the teacher's role. At times, the teacher leads instruction, but at other points, facilitates group work or problem solving. Students in the classroom are encouraged to develop metacognition, an understanding of what they know and why. Furthermore, the candidate employs a range of materials and resources that challenge students to develop higher order thinking. What does professional learning and ethical practice look like? A professional and ethical teacher gathers evidence about his or her practice and reflects on its findings. In particular, he or she focuses on how choices made affects others. He or she engages and demonstrates ongoing professional learning and uses research and evidence to evaluate and modify his or her practice. Additionally, teacher candidates and clinical interns may reflect on and use constructive suggestions to improve their teaching practice, set personal goals for improvement in both content and pedagogy, demonstrate effective reading, writing, math, speaking, and technology skills in all domains, and maintain student records and protects the confidentiality of those records. Standard 10 gives teacher candidates and clinical interns an opportunity to collaborate with others in the school community to advance student learning and development. This goal could be achieved by collaborating with learners, families, colleagues, other school professionals, and the community. Specifically, candidates may attend meetings, extracurricular activities, and professional development opportunities at the school. They may also participate in a professional learning community or volunteer at school events. He or she seeks out appropriate leadership in order to take responsibility for student learning. Keep in mind that demonstration of leadership and collaboration may not be observed in the actual lesson. However, the candidate may provide evidence and artifacts of having met this standard. This is a more difficult standard for teacher candidates to master prior to their clinical practice. It is important for clinical supervisors and cooperating teachers during early field experiences to talk with candidates about opportunities that exist in schools. Having the conversation early will enable teacher candidates to be prepared and engaged when they get to their clinical practice. Standard 11 reflects a professional and ethical preclinical or clinical intern. The candidate acts in accordance with legal responsibilities and uses integrity and fairness to promote the success of students. They know the code of ethics of the profession and are professional in all interactions. Candidates follow the school's professional code of conduct, regulations, and timelines. They are professionally dressed and demonstrate punctuality and dependability. This standard speaks to many of the professional dispositions expected of teachers in the profession. Teacher candidates and clinical interns should be consistently moving toward advanced proficiency throughout all of their clinical placements. In order to access the OCR, an email will be initiated by the Director of Internships and Assessment. Make sure to check your spam folder and follow up with the Director of Internships and Assessment if you are having a hard time locating the link or accessing the link to the OCR. This form will also be available in the Felician SOE repository, which supervisors, cooperating teachers, and students will have access to. Again, if you have trouble accessing that doc, please contact the director. At this point, we want to remind you to complete the assessment included in the welcome email. Please contact Lauren Eakin, Director of Internships and Assessments, at eakinl@felician.edu if you have any questions or problems. In closing, on behalf of the School of Education, we thank you for your time and commitment to developing and mentor Felician University's teacher candidates.